Hi, good evening, traders. This is Krishna Joshi here with 7 Points Capital, bringing you today's trader takeaways. Pretty decent day today. Fairly muted action in terms of volume, uh, continuing the sort of weakness in the markets overall. So, looking back at the last few days, we've sold off, and we go back on the hourly. Obviously, after the huge run that we've had, sort of just cooling back just a little bit. I want to see if we come back into that 73, 74 area, if that's something that we can see over the next few days. But in terms of individual stocks, I think we just had a few earnings names. The earnings season sort of like the number of companies announcing earnings are really less these days, about 8 to 10 of them. So I think the action is pretty stock specific. Not the entire sector is buzzing, I would say. So we have retailers announcing. So we had today quite a few names that were acting on that. So ended up trading CHS, ANF, Dollar Tree. I did not trade Urban URBN, but even that had earnings and over the next few days as well. So this is spies. Let me jump on to the individual names. The Tesla of China, which is NEO, um, but the rest of the watch list was a few low float names. So let's jump into these names. So Neo specifically, like I came in with, obviously the stock is really weak, beaten down after hours. We sold off from 10 to 9 pretty quickly, and then from 9 to 8, like in the 8s in the after hours as well, right there. So this was the first nice crack. Couldn't wasn't really watching it after hours. We got a nice pullback and then we continued the sell off. And then today morning we sort of struggled at that 875 area, which was just around the yesterday's closing price, into those wicks in the 870 area. So we were opening pretty much at 810, 815. We'd been struggling at this 810 area. We saw a lot of soaking going on in this one around 812, 813. So we sort of opened around there. What happens right at the open is we get a nice spike, and so I put on my first short position in Neo. Yeah, let me just zoom in so I can. Yeah, so we got this nice spike into the 830s. Ended up shorting in the 820, covered a little bit, and then we saw, and I sort of like the buying action. We weren't, so we just broke 815, come right back up. So ended up covering my shorts for pretty much break even, and ended up going long 822. And on the first pop in the 840s, this is where I got out. So in the 37s, 38s, ended up taking off my long. So this was more like a quick scalp right off the open. Just looking at which direction the buyers sellers are favored. I saw an offer right there. It stalled there for a moment, so ended up getting short, covered into the wash. In fact, ended up getting long on that same position. And so since then, the stock ends up going to like the high 850. So we sort of struggle at the 860 area, right? And we pull back pretty much to 825. So this is again the spot that I really liked because we waking into VWAP. This is again through when it broke through the 840, we saw a good spike. So this was a nice pullback entry for me. So ended up in fact getting long in the in the high 20s and low 30s. So ended up buying 28, 30, 31, 32, and then sold pretty much everything just before 850. So this was my out on the second long that I put on. And at this point, I just wanted to see if this has the legs to sort of break out 860 and make new highs on the day. And the resistance after 860 was going to be 875 area. And so once I took off 48s, we sort of went up, just absolutely tanked again. So this was like a mini correction candle, just like we saw over here, right around this one. So this was again, my long thesis is still in play. So ended up, once I see like a fairly nice action going on, ended up buying 45s, 46, 47, and I wanted to see this 50 get taken out, 55s get taken out, and hold about that. And at this point, my stop is 28. Once we take out the 50s, I ended up moving my stop to just below 40, which was the buying point, or the low of the candle where I ended up getting long on my third long setup. So I ended up adding more. In fact, 51, we saw 49, so I ended up covering some. But the moment we started staying above 850, started adding more aggressively, because this was sort of a big offer that was soaking a lot of shares. We flipped through, came right back down, but 850 was a lot of buying going on, like a lot of NYSE prints, so NYSE end prints going off on the tape, a lot of dark pools. So I ended up getting long for more size than I actually had on my previous three longs, and got a nice push into the 862, and this is where I just absolutely sold off and got out of everything. I missed this entire move down. A couple of guys on the desk got the short below the 860 and the 850 area, but I was okay missing out on the short because my thesis was on the long side. We did actually sort of see a break of the trend line, so maybe something for me to consider, rewind the tape and see if there were spots for that. But I think I'm pretty satisfied with the way the long executions worked out. And I knew that once we take out 850, the next support area is 830, which is right around here. So what happened after we break 850 is we just sort of just absolutely collapsed into the 830, making, and then what we did was we took some more support at 31, 32 instead of testing 30s this time. So bought some here. In fact, on the pullback, bought a lot more at the 37 area, and that did not end up working out. So I ended up taking a loss in the 33 and the rest at 28. So on the long side, this was sort of my first trade that did not work on the long side, because I had 4 long setups which worked really well, and this was my first trade that was sort of showing signs of struggle. I didn't really want to go up, so I ended up getting short. So this was going to be a chase for me, because I never really couldn't really pull myself together in terms of risk management and get myself short on the short side. So what I did was I saw this soaking action at 25, and then the 24 offer jumped in, and this is where I ended up getting short at 822, added more 817s, and covered the 3.5s on this one. So why the quick covers on this was because right from 805 we had 50,000 bids on across like 3 exchanges. 804 similar action, 803. So I ended up taking like the midpoint, and goes down a couple more. And then at this point, I'm like, okay, someone just bought a lot of shares, and someone just probably got themselves either covered off the short position just before the $8 mark. And a lot more bids were, so it was going to be tough to take out on an SSR stock. So once we pulled back up, now I started seeing the new range which was getting formed, which is 808 and 805. So I ended up buying 804, 805s, 804 halves, right around here, and started selling more in the 808. And the moment I saw like this is when 808s look like they want to get taken out, ended up buying this and scalped myself on this one in the high 10s. So I ended up getting out 14, 15 and 17, 18 for most of it. And at this point I sort of left it alone. This was the one area where I got short again, because this was again stuffing in the 818 area. We sort of saw like a lot of offers coming in, 817 specifically. I remember about 14k coming on the EDGX exchange, I think, and then just sort of held it for the rest of the day. So a couple of short scalps over here, and then again when I see the 8, which is 250,000 bid on 2 exchanges, I'm just buying 801, just straight up. Like if I'm short 806, 805, I'm covering in the ones and then going long 801, and just sort of the bid just held it. Surprising, in the after hours we are actually selling off. I got out of my final longs in the 803.5 area, 804s, and in the last few minutes we didn't really see any action going on. So that was Neo for you guys. A lot of back and forth action. On the front side, this is what the front side sort of looks for the low float. So on the front side, trying to get long, but I missed this drop, got involved on the second move, and then no, not this one. So I got involved on this move and sort of caught it down. So overall, pretty good day in Neo. My best stock on the day. The second best stock was CHS. The stock opened down SSR and we just rallied really hard. So off of the 535 to 585, pretty much like 8-9% move. The stock going sideways. So ended up getting short in the 879s. And then out of nowhere, I just saw that the bid got taken out and then the new offer is sitting stacked up at 876. So I ended up adding more in the midpoints at 875 and then just covered everything at 866. That's where I had my bids laid out. And so this was a fairly easy trade in terms of risk management. This is one of the trades that works out probably 7 out of 10 times and it gives you 5 to 1 or 6 to 1 because you're pretty much risking 2 or 3 cents on something like this. And especially when it starts working, this is a confirmation that all right, someone wants to really get out of the short position. Someone wants to get really short. It did end up going further down, but I think I was just glad to keep taking these, to keep hitting those singles, and then once you hit the target for the day, sort of slow down. What was the other one I was watching? ANF. So ANF, I had 2 trades in ANF. One was in the morning where we broke about 26, we come right back down and we go sideways. So a lot of soaking action going on just before the 26. So I feel like someone's trying to get short before the 26 mark. So I ended up shorting 91s, 90s, but got stopped out right away. So I just left it alone because there's still continuation on the long side. Felt like the stock is really still strong. But a similar setup presented itself at the 26 mark. So I ended up shorting 25, 95, 92. 91s on this one and then covered everything in the 70s right around here. It did sort of push again into like try to wick into that 85 90 area, but I wasn't really watching it so actively because at the end I was still caught up with NIO. What else do we have? So we have Dollar Tree. Dollar Tree, I think it's my loser on the day. I ended up losing like 0.3R. I got in with a really small position, but why I want to go at this trade is because this was a similar setup I put on yesterday in TGT. So we saw this action in TGT gapping up big in pre-market and then we start selling off. And at the open we see like a big drop and then a pullback, which is sort of 50-55% pullback from the opening range. So we opened around 98, we dropped to 95.20. And we're pulling back into 97. So I ended up shorting this with a really tight stop, which was just about 97.20. Ended up getting stopped out on this, but I felt like this wigged into 98. Probably wants to consolidate just below that. So put on a short position again, and then just ended up getting stopped out as well. Pretty much break even. So 2 trades, and I actually just ended up losing 0.3R, which was less than it because these weren't conviction high conviction tape or price action going on in this stock. Like yesterday with TGT we had much more convincing action, much more follow through, and with this one it was more like it would go down, come right back up. So cut my losses in these 2 ones. I never really actually got a chance to scale in my full position in DLTR. Alright, quickly on to low floats. Let's start with the day 2 setups, which was PETZ. So PETZ, what I ended up doing was I saw this wick right at the open and then comes down, consolidates below 20, ended up getting short. I did not get 20s, but I got 17s and 16s. And once the 114 and 115 bids, they were the only 2 bids sitting here. Once they got taken out, we would just right below 110. So I ended up covering 108, 107. I put on another trade short at 108, right around here. We go down, we come back up. But to be honest, not enough liquidity or not enough meat on the bone for me to stay in. So I ended up covering everything at 107. So this was PETZ, and quick day 2 on DSS. So DSS had this 156, had this bid at 156 pre-market, right? So what I did was right at the open, I thought if this huge bid needs to get taken out, that can really happen at the open. So we spike into 64, we come back down, and I shorted 58. 56 is still holding, so I ended up covering this for break even. And then at this point I'm looking at these 170s really struggling, right? And then the 169 bids the offers come in, sort of stepping down. So I ended up shorting in the 160, 165, 164 area. We catch this drop, we go sideways, and this was a really nice spot to add more. So think about the previous one, PETZ, where I missed this drop, but I caught the drop at 120, right? So this is the similar price action, similar setup, and it was an easy add. Just ended up adding more position at 160, 159, and we got a nice little sell-off in that 148 area. And at this point we went SSR, so I was out of everything. So I covered 51s and 48s. We bounced back a little bit, and then we ended up shorting. I ended up shorting 53s for a little bit, and then covered right around here. So this was it. Two easy, quick trades in this. Oh, I also forgot to mention SSLJ. Best stock on the day for everyone. Everyone was green in this one. So it was a pretty big gapper. We've been gapping for a few days on this one. So let me quickly show you a 15-minute, because we've been rallying from close to 40 cents. Just give me a few more seconds for this to load. All right, there we go. So look at this, rallying from 40 cents. This has been going up for a few days. Day 1, day 2, today was day 3. This was the after hours move yesterday. So pre-market today, again, we gapped up pretty high, tested that 140 area, but we are still opening in the 125-ish area. Ended up getting a nice short right off the open, covered into the first quick drop, re-added back again, covered into the drop. But the third one was a tricky one for me, where I shorted 101, I saw a 105 offer there, so we go down and I quickly cover, because I felt like I've seen this sort of action before, YRIV, where we wick twice and then this one gets bought up, and then we again go up and rally a little bit more. So I did not want to sort of stay in it longer, and I ended up covering for a quick gain in this 98, 99 area, only to see the stock go down so much more. So we finished on the day close to 65 cents. So there's so much more I could have done on this one. So definitely one stock I could have done a lot more was SSLJ. So that's it from me for today, guys. Covered a few low floats, a few earnings names. If you have any questions, comments, feel free to tweet me. And this is Krishna Joshi with 7 Points Capital. Thank you for watching.